The sun had barely risen over Malaga on January 25, 2024, when heavily armed Spanish police stormed a luxurious villa, shattering the morning calm with the thud of boots and the crackle of radios. Inside, Karim Bouyakhrichan, Europe's most wanted criminal, was jolted awake to the reality he'd been dreading for years. His empire of crack, violence, and laundered millions had finally crumbled. As officers dragged him out, the man who'd once ruled the Costa del Sol's criminal underworld knew it was all over. From 2014 to 2018, Karim B stepped into his brother Samir's shoes and stomped across the Costa del Sol, turning the sunny Spanish coast into a nerve center for his massive crack empire. After Samir B, nicknamed Scarface, was pinned down in 2014 outside a shopping center in Marbella, Karim took over the reins. Determined to expand the business and fill the void left by his brother's bloody end, he did it with such a ruthless efficiency that shocked even the most seasoned law enforcement officers. Karim was a mastermind in the art of smuggling. His operations brought in vast quantities of crack from South America, which he funneled through the ports of Amsterdam and Rotterdam. These cities became key distribution hubs, sending contraband all over Europe. Karim's network wasn't just vast, it was a web of connections stretching from Morocco to the Dominican Republic, the UAE, and of course, Spain. This network laundered millions of euros through an intricate hawala-style system, with money and assets changing hands across continents. By the time police started to close in, Karim had already funneled over 6 million euros into legitimate-looking properties and businesses. In Spain alone, he and his associates acquired 172 properties worth 50 million euros, making it nearly impossible for authorities to trace the dirty money back to its criminal origins. But Karim's rise wasn't only about clever financial maneuvers. He understood that power in the underworld often comes at the barrel of a gun. His reign was marked by violence and fear. Karim had enemies, and none was more dangerous than Ridwan Tahi, a fellow illegal items lord who saw Karim as a direct threat to his own empire. The rivalry between these two men was the stuff of nightmares, with assassination attempts becoming a gruesome reality. In one particularly chilling episode, encrypted chat messages intercepted by Dutch authorities revealed that Tahi's associates, including a hitman known as Rico the Chilean, were actively plotting Karim's death. Even Italian kingpin Rafael Imperiale got in on the action, feeding information about Karim's movements to his would-be assassins. But Karim wasn't one to be easily intimidated. He retaliated with his own brand of violence. Rumors swirled in the underworld of rivals who disappeared without a trace or turned up dead, their bodies riddled with bullets. Karim ordered hits on anyone who posed a threat to his empire, whether they were rival traffickers or informants who dared to speak to the police. Each attack sent a clear message. Karim B was not a man to be crossed. By June 2018, the Spanish National Police had finally had enough of the chaos Karim was causing along the Costa del Sol. The police knew that they needed to act fast, and they needed to be thorough if they were going to take him down. The investigation that kicked off in June 2018 wasn't just a basic operation. This was a full-blown 5-year pursuit that would see some of the most sophisticated surveillance and intelligence gathering methods brought into play. The Spanish police left no stone unturned. They tapped phones, listened in on conversations that Karim thought were private, and tracked his every move through constant surveillance. Undercover officers infiltrated his operations, gathering evidence from the inside. It was a dangerous game, but the police knew that without hard evidence, bringing down someone as powerful as Karim B would be nearly impossible. The key to this success was having patience, and the Spanish police did just that. They knew that they had to follow the money if they were going to bring Karim down for good, and so they dug deeper, following the financial trail that he had left behind. By the time they were ready to strike, they had amassed enough evidence to freeze millions of euros spread across various bank accounts. On January 25, 2024, the Spanish police finally made their move. After years of meticulous planning, surveillance, and gathering evidence, they were ready to bring down Karim B. In the early hours of that January morning, police units in Malaga and Melilla in Spain geared up for the operation that would become one of the most significant busts in Spanish history. Everything they had been planned down to the last detail. They knew where Karim was hiding, who was with him, and even what time he was most likely to be vulnerable. The operation was as precise as it was dangerous. The police stormed Karim's hideout with the kind of speed and efficiency you'd expect from a military operation. There was no room for mistakes. The moment of the arrest was nothing short of dramatic. Heavily armed officers in tactical gear burst into the luxurious villa where Karim had been holed up. They moved quickly, securing the area and making sure there was no escape route for Karim or his associates. Karim himself was completely taken by surprise. After years of outmaneuvering law enforcement, he had grown accustomed to the idea that he was untouchable. By this time, there was no slipping away. The police had him cornered. As they dragged him out of the villa, his hands cuffed behind his back, his associates, 5 in total, were also taken into custody. Their reign of terror brought to a sudden, crushing end. After this dramatic arrest on January 25, 2024, the news spread like wildfire, shaking the underworld. The Dutch authorities, who'd been chasing Karim for years, wasted no time in responding. The very next day, the Dutch Public Prosecution Service, OM, filed an official extradition request, demanding that Karim be sent back to the Netherlands to face justice. They had been hunting this man for years, linking him to numerous crimes, from trafficking to violent attacks, and now they finally had the chance to bring him to trial on home soil. But things didn't go as smoothly as Dutch authorities had hoped. The Spanish legal system, with its own complexities, stepped in. While the National Court in Madrid initially approved the Dutch extradition request, local officials in Malaga, where Karim was being held, insisted they face charges in Spain first. It seemed like a straightforward process at first, keep Karim behind bars while the legalities were sorted out, but then the unthinkable happened. In a twist that no one saw coming, Karim was temporarily released from custody due to a bureaucratic mix-up. It was a monumental blunder that left both the Spanish and Dutch authorities scrambling. On February 22, 2024, a court in Malaga, swayed by an appeal from Karim's defense team, accepted a bail bond of €50,000 and decided to let him walk free while awaiting further proceedings. The court argued that less restrictive measures like surrendering his passport and checking in with authorities every 15 days would be enough to keep him from fleeing. For a short while, Karim complied with the court's orders. He made his regular appearances, seemingly played by the rules, but then, on April 1st, 2024, he vanished. He simply stopped showing up at court, and just like that, one of Europe's most dangerous criminals was back on the loose. The news of his disappearance sent shockwaves through the international community. How could someone so notorious, so heavily guarded, just slip through the cracks? The Dutch authorities were furious, and the Spanish justice system was left red-faced, struggling to explain how they'd let such a high-profile criminal escape. The repercussions were immediate and severe. Spanish Justice Minister Félix Bolanos was forced to address the media, admitting that Karim's disappearance was worrying news, but insisting that every effort was being made to recapture him. But the damage was done. Trust between the Spanish and Dutch authorities was strained, and questions about the effectiveness of international law enforcement cooperation began to surface. The moment Karim disappeared, the manhunt began. Spanish and Dutch authorities launched a massive search operation, combing through every possible lead, but finding Karim was like searching for a needle in a haystack. He'd vanished without a trace, leaving investigators to speculate about where he might have gone. Was he hiding somewhere in Spain, using his network of criminal contacts to stay off the radar? Or had he already fled the country, slipping into the shadows where no one could find him? As the days turned into weeks, the manhunt continued, but with little success. Authorities were left chasing ghosts. While the media buzzed with speculation, some believed Karim had fled to Morocco, where he had strong connections. Others thought he might have made his way to the Dominican Republic or the UAE, using his vast resources to start over in a new location. The truth, however, remained elusive. Some experts speculated that Karim might continue to operate from the shadows, quietly pulling strings and keeping his empire alive. Others feared that his escape would embolden other criminals, showing them that even the most wanted can slip through the cracks. The possibilities were endless, and none of them were good. As of now, Karim's exact location remains unknown. The man who once ruled the Costa del Sol's trade is now a fugitive, but the threat he poses is far from over. What are your thoughts on Karim B's story? Let us know in the comments below. If you like our content, don't forget to check out the channel. I've got many more stories from the underworld to share with you. See you in the next one.